You were not born insecure. Let that sink in. You were trained to hesitate. From the moment you were young, you were conditioned not to lead, not to move first, but to wait. Wait for approval. Wait for permission. Wait for someone older, louder, or more confident to decide if you're allowed to speak, act, or take space. Insecurity wasn't your nature. It was installed, slowly, systematically. And right now, somewhere in the world, someone less disciplined than you, less intelligent than you, less capable than you, is moving faster through life. They're not smarter, they're not more talented, they're not more deserving, but they are decisive. They speak once and people listen. They walk into rooms and the energy shifts. They take opportunities while you're still analyzing every possible outcome. Not because they're special, but because they stopped waiting for permission. Think about that for a moment. Someone without your potential is winning. Someone without your depth is advancing. Someone without your preparation is being chosen. And the reason isn't luck. It's not privilege. It's not destiny. It's confidence, but not the kind you think. They didn't wait to feel confident. They decided to act confident. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. Confidence does not come from feeling ready. Feeling ready comes after action. Confidence is not something you discover inside yourself. It's something you embody before you're comfortable. You were taught to be polite, to explain yourself, to justify your decisions, to wait your turn, to be patient while other people decide your future. But here's what nobody told you. The world does not reward patience. It rewards presence. It rewards decisiveness.
It rewards control. It rewards people who move without asking. This video is not motivation. It is not positivity. It is not comfort. These are 8 ruthless lessons designed to strip hesitation out of your behavior, kill approval seeking at the root, and rebuild confidence from the inside out, without affirmations, without hype, and without lies. And here's the part most people never understand. Confidence is not something you feel. It is something other people feel around you. When you walk into a room and the conversation pauses, that's confidence. When you speak and people put their phones down, that's confidence. When you say no without explaining and nobody challenges you, that's confidence. It's not about you feeling brave. It's about them feeling your gravity. So if you're tired of watching less deserving people take what should be yours, if you're done shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable, if you're ready to stop asking and start taking, stay with me. Because what comes next will either wake you up or make you uncomfortable. Either way, you needed to hear it. Lesson 1. Presence is louder than words. Most people learn this lesson too late. Talking too much is a confession. It confesses insecurity. It confesses doubt. It confesses that you need validation from the person listening. People who talk excessively are not confident. They are compensating. They are trying to convince, trying to prove, trying to fill space because silence makes them nervous. Silence exposes weakness, and insecure people cannot tolerate exposure.
But people with authority, they are comfortable with silence. They don't rush. They don't over-explain. They don't justify their existence. Think about the last time you were around someone with real power, not fake confidence, real authority. Did they rush their words? Did they explain themselves repeatedly? Did they fill every gap with nervous laughter? No. They spoke when it mattered, and when they stopped talking, you waited. That wasn't accidental. That was strategy. Silence creates weight. It makes your words expensive. It forces people to process what you said instead of ignoring it. When everything you say is rare, it becomes valuable. When you flood the room with explanations, justifications, and unnecessary details, your words lose power. Confidence is not loud, it is uncomfortable calm. The person who can sit inside tension without flinching controls the frame. The person who doesn't rush to defend their position the moment it's questioned controls the interaction. The person who says something once and never repeats it wins, because repetition signals doubt. Every time you repeat yourself, you're subconsciously asking, "Did you believe me this time?" Strong presence doesn't need confirmation. Here's what happens when you stop talking too much. People start watching you more closely. They lean in. They wait for your input. They give you respect without you demanding it.
Because they sense control, and control is magnetic. When you speak less, others speak more, but they speak to you. When you rush to fill silence, you hand over power. So here's a simple discipline that will change how people perceive you. In your next conversation, cut your words in half. Say what matters. Then stop. No qualifiers. No softening. No nervous laughter. No explaining unless asked. Just stop. Watch what happens. Watch how body language shifts. Watch how people start asking you questions instead of talking over you. Watch how silence starts working for you instead of against you. That shift, that's your presence becoming louder than your words. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. Know when to be silent like the fox. Know when to speak like the lion. But never, ever let fear decide for you. Write this in the comments, not for the algorithm, but to program your mind. Silence is my strength. Lesson 2. Never react first. Your emotions are signals, not commands. Read that again. Most people lose power not because they are weak, but because they are reactive. Someone says something disrespectful, they respond immediately. Someone challenges them, they defend instantly. Someone provokes, they explode. And the moment you react, you lose control. Because reactions are predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. The person who reacts first is no longer leading the interaction, they're following it. Strong confidence comes from delay, from the ability to pause, observe, and choose your response instead of letting emotions hijack your behavior. When someone insults you and you stay calm, you flip the power dynamic. When someone pressures you and you slow down, you gain leverage. When someone expects emotion and you give them nothing, they feel exposed. Stillness unsettles weak people because they rely on your reaction to feel important. Your emotions exist to inform you, not to control you. The moment you learn to pause before responding, you step out of the trap most people live in their entire lives. And that's where real confidence begins.
You are no longer acting. You are responding. And responding means someone else is leading. Predictability is the enemy of power, and reactive people are painfully predictable. Manipulators love emotional people, not because they hate them, but because they can use them. They know exactly which buttons to press. They know what tone to use. They know how to trigger guilt, anger, fear, or urgency. But control, real control, confuses opponents. When someone expects you to lash out and you remain calm, they lose their script. When they expect you to defend yourself and you remain silent, they begin to doubt themselves. When they expect chaos and receive stillness, they feel exposed. Calm unnerves manipulators, because manipulation requires reaction to function. Think about this carefully. The person who remains still while everyone else reacts becomes the center of gravity. Everyone else is spinning, talking, arguing, panicking, justifying. And there you are, unmoved. That contrast alone elevates you. Power is not aggression. Power is emotional discipline. This does not mean you suppress your emotions. Suppression is weakness in another form. Suppression leaks. Suppression explodes later. Control is different. You feel the anger, but you delay it. You notice the fear, but you breathe through it. You recognize the urge to react, and you pause. That pause is everything. Because inside that pause, you regain authorship. You decide, is this moment worth my energy? Does this person deserve my reaction? Does reacting now benefit me or them? Most people never ask these questions. They react first and regret later. Confidence begins when your face does not match the chaos. Imagine this. You're in an argument. The other person is red-faced, emotional, pointing fingers, raising their voice. And your posture is relaxed. Your voice is steady. Your expression is neutral. You're not ignoring them. You're not afraid. You're simply refusing to join them in their panic. Who looks stronger? Who looks like they are in control? The answer is obvious to everyone in the room, even if they don't say it. The person who reacts first loses. The person who waits, watches, and responds on their own terms controls the frame. That person runs the room. So the next time someone tries to extract a reaction from you through disrespect, emotional pressure, guilt, or chaos, do not give it to them. Let them perform. Let them escalate. Let them exhaust themselves. You remain solid, still, unmoved. They will respect you more than any clever comeback ever could.
Lesson 3. Do not explain what you have not earned. This lesson will cost you many relationships, and it will save you from the wrong ones. People who respect you do not need justification. People who disrespect you will not accept it. Let that sink in. You do not owe everyone an explanation. In fact, you don't owe most people an explanation. And every time you justify yourself to someone who already decided you're wrong, you are not communicating. You are begging. Explaining is often begging in disguise. Think back. How many times have you tried to make someone understand your decision? You laid out the reasons. You gave context. You softened your tone. You tried to be reasonable. And what happened? They still didn't agree. They still questioned you. They still made you feel like you were on trial. Why? Because they were never confused about you. They were committed to misunderstanding you. Some people don't want clarity. They want control. They want you to keep explaining so they can keep questioning, because as long as you're explaining, you're beneath them. As long as you're explaining, you're defending. And as long as you're defending, they are judging. Stop teaching people how to question you. When you make a decision, make it. When you set a boundary, set it. You do not need to write a thesis explaining why. You do not need to soften it with apologies. You do not need to prepare a defense for people who were never going to respect it anyway. Here is what confident people do differently. They state their position once, then they move on. If someone asks why, they may give a short answer, but they do not perform. They do not justify. They do not over-explain. They do not audition for approval, because they already approved themselves. That is the shift. You stop operating from external validation and start operating from internal authority. You stop asking, does this make sense to you? And start asking, does this align with me? And when you do that, something changes. People may not like your decisions, but they will feel your certainty. They may disagree, but they will hesitate before challenging you. They may walk away, but the wrong ones always do. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Let them see your decisions. Let them feel your boundaries, but do not hand them the manual to your mind. Mystery preserves power. Explanation gives it away. Keep some things yours. Not everything needs to be explained. Not every decision needs an audience. Not every thought needs to be spoken.
The less you explain, the more weight your words carry. The less you justify, the more people assume you know something they don't. And they're right. You do know something they don't. You know that your life is not a democracy. You know that respect is not negotiated through explanations. You know that confidence doesn't come from permission, it comes from ownership. Most people talk themselves out of authority. They explain too much. They soften their certainty. They try to make everyone comfortable. And in doing so, they give away the very thing they're trying to protect: respect. So the next time someone asks you to explain yourself and you feel it in your body that they haven't earned that access, do not overtalk. Do not justify. Do not defend. Just say calmly, "I've made my decision," and stop. Let the silence stretch. Let them feel uncomfortable. Let them sit with the fact that you are not seeking their approval. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Power does not explain itself. Write this in the comments, not for anyone else, but for your own discipline. My word is final. Lesson 4. Control access to your inner world. Your plans are not public property. Your fears are not entertainment. Your next move is not a group discussion. Most people leak their power without ever realizing it. They share their goals before they've taken the first step. They announce their plans before they've committed. They broadcast their fears, doubts, and next moves to anyone who will listen. And then they wonder why nothing feels sacred anymore, why their motivation disappears, why their confidence feels fragile. Here's the truth most people learn too late. The less people know about your process, the more they respect your outcome. When you show up with results instead of promises, you look unstoppable. When you present the finished product instead of the rough draft, you look competent. When you keep your struggles private and your wins visible, you build a reputation that protects you. Mystery forces others to adjust. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem grounded, composed, and ahead of the curve. Do they tell you every doubt they have? Do they broadcast every setback? Do they narrate their entire journey in real time? No. They move quietly. They build privately. And when they're ready, they reveal. That's not dishonesty. That's strategy. Because the moment you share everything, you invite everyone's opinion. And opinions are cheap. Everyone has one. Most of them are shaped by fear, projection, insecurity, or jealousy. Your dreams are not strong enough to survive 1,000 doubts. Your confidence is not designed to carry everyone else's skepticism. So protect it. Guard your inner world like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is.
This does not mean you isolate yourself completely. It does not mean you trust no one. It means you become selective. It means you understand the difference between sharing for connection and sharing for validation. One builds intimacy. The other kills momentum. Here's a test that will save you years of wasted energy. Before you tell someone your plan, ask yourself, why am I telling them? Is it because they can help? Because their insight genuinely matters? Because they've earned your trust? Or is it because you want to be impressed? Because you want to feel accountable? Because you need their approval to believe it's real? If it's the last one, say nothing. Go build first. Prove it to yourself. Then, if you still feel like sharing, share the result. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone has earned the right to know what you're building, what you fear, or what you're capable of. Let your outcomes introduce you. Let your results speak. Let people wonder how you did it, instead of watching you struggle to begin. Confidence grows in private. It reveals itself in public. Write this affirmation in the comments. I move in silence. Lesson 5. Become difficult to replace. Let's be honest about something most self-help advice avoids. Being nice does not protect you. Being needed does. You can be the kindest person in the room. You can smile, you can agree, you can avoid conflict, and you can still be replaced, overlooked, disrespected. Why? Because kindness without competence is just compliance. The world doesn't reward people who are easy to deal with. It rewards people who are hard to replace. When your competence solves problems others cannot, confidence stops being emotional. It becomes factual. This is the shift nobody talks about. Most people think confidence comes from affirmations, from mindset work, from telling yourself you're enough. That helps, but it's fragile. Real, unshakable confidence comes from evidence, from knowing, objectively, that you deliver value, that you produce results, that you do things others can't or won't do. That kind of confidence doesn't need hype. It's quiet, grounded, stable. When you walk into a room knowing you carry skills that matter, you don't need to convince anyone you belong there. You don't posture. You don't overtalk. You don't chase attention.
Your presence already answers the question. And once you reach that level, approval becomes irrelevant. Because confidence is no longer something you feel, it's something you are. You just do. When you know your skills are rare, something shifts inside you. You stop worrying about being liked. You stop performing. You stop managing perceptions. You focus on effectiveness. Because effectiveness doesn't need applause. Results silence doubt faster than personality ever could. Think about it carefully. If you are the person who consistently solves the hardest problems, if you are the one who shows up with solutions while others bring excuses, if your work speaks clearly, confidently, without explanation, do you need to explain your value? Do you need to chase respect? No. People come to you. Opportunities find you. Your name circulates without your involvement. Confidence becomes automatic, not because you hype yourself up, but because it's anchored in reality. This is where most people get it wrong. They try to become irreplaceable through charm, through likability, through being agreeable. But charm fades. Likability is conditional. Agreeableness is disposable. Skill is not. So stop trying to be irreplaceable because you're nice. Be irreplaceable because you're necessary. Develop something you are better at than most people. Something measurable. Something undeniable. Get so good that when your name comes up, people immediately associate you with that capability. Build a reputation where your work is the reference point, where your output is the standard, not the exception. This does not mean you become cold, robotic, or antisocial. It means you stop relying on people liking you and start relying on people needing you. And here's the part nobody tells you. When you're competent, people respect you even if they don't like you. When you're just nice, people like you only until it's inconvenient. Then they replace you. Machiavelli understood this reality long before modern self-help softened it. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. No, this does not mean you must be feared, but you must be respected. And respect does not come from being agreeable. It comes from being capable. So ask yourself honestly, what can I do that most people can't? What problem can I solve that makes me hard to replace? What skill can I master so deeply that my confidence becomes undeniable? Then go build that. Because competence is the foundation of real confidence. Everything else, affirmations, mindset, personality, is decoration. Write this affirmation in the comments. I am irreplaceable.
Lesson 6. Remove the need to be liked. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The need for approval keeps you predictable, and predictability keeps you weak. Most people are running through life trying to make everyone comfortable. They adjust their opinions based on who's watching. They soften their boundaries so no one gets upset. They dilute their personality so they don't stand out too much. And they call this being considerate. But in reality, it's self-abandonment. Confidence begins the moment you accept this. Not everyone is supposed to like you. Read that again. Not everyone is supposed to like you. That is not a flaw. That is not a failure. That is just reality. You could be the most generous, thoughtful, talented person alive, and someone will still dislike you. Someone will still misunderstand you. Someone will still decide you're too much or not enough. So why are you working so hard to win approval from people who were never going to choose you anyway? When you remove the need to be liked, something powerful happens. You become free. Free to set boundaries without guilt. Free to speak honestly without fear. Free to make decisions based on alignment, not applause. Detachment gives your presence weight. People can feel when you're not trying to impress them. They sense when you're not performing for validation. And paradoxically, that's when they respect you most. Because desperation repels. Confidence attracts. When you stop chasing people's opinions, you stop handing them power. When you stop editing yourself for an audience, you start living from your center. And your center is where your real power lives.
This does not mean you become rude or careless. It means you stop letting fear of disapproval dictate your behavior. It means you make choices aligned with your values, even when those choices make you unpopular. Here's the test that reveals everything. Would you still do it if nobody clapped? Would you still say it if people got upset? Would you still choose it if it made you the villain in someone else's story? If the answer is yes, do it. If the answer is no, you are not choosing, you are performing. And performance is exhausting. Confidence is not. The people who matter will recognize your authenticity. The people who don't were never your people. Let them go. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. You don't need their permission to live with conviction. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. Let them form opinions without access to the full picture. You'll be too busy being yourself to care. Because when you stop needing approval, other people's noise loses its power. Write this affirmation in the comments, not as a trend, but as a declaration. I need no approval.
Lesson 7. Reduce emotional waste. Not everyone deserves access to your attention. Read that again. This is where most people lose their power. Not because they are weak, but because they are accessible. They give their energy to everyone. They entertain every conversation. They respond to every message, every provocation, every emotional pull. They stay in draining relationships because they're afraid of being alone. They tolerate disrespect because they don't want to be seen as cold. They overextend themselves because they confuse availability with loyalty. And they don't realize what it's costing them. Some people drain focus. Some conversations slow growth. Some relationships keep you small. And every minute you spend managing someone else's emotions is a minute you are not investing in yourself. That is emotional waste. And emotional waste kills momentum. Look at your life honestly. How much of your mental energy is spent on people who don't add value? How many hours do you spend replaying conversations with people who don't even think about you? How much space in your head is occupied by relationships that don't serve your growth? That weight you feel, that constant mental fatigue, that's not life being hard. That's you carrying things you should have put down a long time ago. Confident people are ruthless with their energy. Not loud. Not cruel. Ruthless. They understand one truth most people ignore. Attention is your most valuable resource. You can make more money. You can build more skills. You cannot recover wasted focus. So they protect it. They don't entertain drama. They don't engage with people who only show up when they need something. They don't keep fixing relationships that were broken by design. They cut it off. Quietly. Cleanly.